should be good. I'm back again with Moon Lair. So I got a few questions for you, all right?
All right.
So my first question would be, now being an artist, right? And people, let's just say the two types of people, the people that know like your price and those who don't have a good understanding. If you can give us the ones that don't understand like how commissions work and how the difference between, oh, I'll do a commission for a character versus I'll do a commission for a page.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So like if you're doing a commission for either a character who is either someone's own character or like you're an established character, the pricing is going to range just depending on kind of like, I guess, the detail of things and stuff. If it's for a project, obviously that is a lot longer commitment. And honestly, with like projects for like stories and stuff like that, longer commitments is usually kind of like what the pricing is, because you're paying for that creator's time and expertise and stuff. So when it comes to just commissions, you're hiring someone to kind of bring your vision to life. So either a character or a project, that's pretty much what you're paying for.
Okay. So when those are asked for asking prices, and people are asking for, could you get paid per page of what particular objective that you're doing? Like you're getting paid to draw it, another person's getting paid to color it, another getting paid to ink it.
Yeah. So that's if you have a big team. That's if you have like a team underneath you. A lot of independent artists will kind of be everything, and I think that's the reason why the prices sometimes go up, just because they're doing everything. They're the inkers, they're the pencilers, they're the colorers, and a lot of times, like for us, like we do everything in-house. Like we do the graphic design, we do all of our graphics for our covers. So we pretty much do everything. So, but if a person has kind of an in-house team, or let's say they're like, hey, I just do pencil, then you may have to send it to someone else.
Okay.
As far as how that works, I'm not really sure how that kind of works. As far as like just giving it to somebody else and stuff like that.
If you want to disclose this question, well, this answer for it, you don't have to. You don't want to. What is an ideal budget if somebody wanted to actually come up with their own comic book or manga?
Actually, that's a really good question. I mean, it ranges. It ranges. I definitely think you should have, I would want to say, a budget for around like 300? No, just as an overall budget if they want to kind of hire someone to do a story for them. Like what would be kind of a comfortable...
I think it depends. Hi.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah,
No, I was going to say, I think it depends on what the creator's being asked to do, because for, like, let's say, for example, if the creator's doing pencils, inks, but not just that, but also storyboard, designing the characters, all of that. I mean, you could be talking about $300 to $400 per page.
Okay.
But, I mean, on the low end, if you're talking about black and white, also the sophistication of the style as well. Because I know, like, Andrew's definitely taken projects at different price points, depending on the style that people have asked us to do. But, it really depends on also the expertise of the creator, because Andrew might charge one number, but someone who's new to the industry might only charge you like $50 per page, $25 per page, because they're new. So it really depends on the project and also the creator.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also take into consideration too, if you want to get it printed, that's a totally different thing as well. Like now you probably have to budget maybe between actually now I'm thinking about it, a good number is to go on Kickstarter and kind of see what creators are kind of asking for. Usually it's around like between 1,000 to like 2 maybe.
Oh, are you talking about for someone who wants to do their own?
Oh yeah, so it's a higher. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But again, that's at the kind of most extreme and stuff like that. And for us, like we definitely recommend like starting off kind of comfortably and sort of building it up and stuff like that. So yeah.
Now, I know you got a new book, Dasher Blue.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you could give us a quick synopsis without spoiling anything.
Absolutely, yeah. So Dasher Blue is so it follows the story of Trace Kincaid. Secret identity is Dasher Blue. He is the kind of guardian of the world in that universe and stuff. I guess without giving away too much, like you're gonna see monsters and mechs. So,
okay.
Yeah, but it's a really we got really big plans for it. It's going to be a 5-issue kind of series. It's going to be big. We really feel like this series is going to be huge. It's going to have lots of characters, lots of action. We really think that people are going to love it. It's going to have. I feel that it's going to kind of bring the kind of comic and anime kind of together. Just because it has all the elements. You have, superhero or tokusatsu, you have henshin transformation, you have kaijus and stuff. So, yeah, we think this is going to be really big.
Yeah, this one's going to really set up the story. So our plan right now is for it to be a 5-part series. So in this first episode, we see Dasher Blue facing off against an opponent that basically has this creature being held hostage, and we don't know why. So we get to see a little bit of their fight, their interaction, but it also leads into the overarching story of the rest of that universe.
Okay. Now, when coming up with Dasher Blue and having that workflow, right? Was there any characters that you had that you like, no, this ain't gonna work?
Actually, give me an example.
Like say like all the characters that you have right now that made the cut.
Yeah.
Was there any characters probably like, no, this is not gonna work. I got to cut this character.
For Dasher Blue or just all the stories?
For Dasher Blue.
For Dasher Blue. No, and actually I don't think so. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of times like I will either like they just haven't been flushed out a little bit. There hasn't been some characters where I'm like, no, I'm not going to use this character for this, or it will be like I won't use this character. Yeah, I guess it won't. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it was funny because as you were asking the question, I kind of started laughing to myself because a lot of times what Andrew does is he'll come up with characters first, and then we just have to figure out. It's kind of like recycling. Like we don't waste any characters.
Yeah.
We'll figure out where they fit into the story. So I feel like there's been a lot of characters that you designed for the Dasher Blue series, and they're not in the first issue, but we figured out places where they'll line up.
Okay.
So it's like, I guess technically a few got scrapped from the first issue, but not necessarily scrapped overall.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Because I know
yeah.
when you got the book, you also have. 'Cause a lot of people keep forgetting. You also do the animations too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I also bring that up because like a lot of people like I'm not going to use this character in episode 1.
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to use this character in this season.
Yeah. And that happens a lot because I feel like Andrew has all these ideas and he'll draw them and like, obviously he's a really great artist, so he has all these really cool designs, but then we're like, what is this for? What are we going to use? Where are we going to use this? So then it's kind of like my job to help him write the lore behind why that character is in there.
Yeah.
So we make a lot of stuff work, but everything eventually gets used. It's just not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, being from New York City and growing up,
Oh, that's me. Yeah.
I forgot Andrew. No, New York.
It's okay.
All right, asking your wife, being from New York City
Yeah.
and growing up in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Getting into the space of, let's just say, comic books and manga.
Yeah.
Was it something where like, oh yeah, this is cool, like I can do that, And dealing with adolescents. That's an interesting question I'm bringing. Adolescents.
Yeah.
I know when we're from the certain environments,
Yeah.
we like to, I'm gonna use a very clear word, clown around a little too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you ever have that growing up as a kid? Like, are you like that? Oh, something wrong.
Yeah, you know, honestly, I did have that a lot growing up. I think Andrew probably did as well, just a different kind of environment. But for me, I actually was more into comic books, and when I was young, that was like, it wasn't really accepted, but like you could kind of fly under the radar a little bit more. But anime and manga was like, that was some really like nerdy stuff, and that was the stuff that I feel like people got picked on more so than comics. So I feel like I was lucky. I wasn't really called out as much as other people, but I feel like you kind of had some of that like growing up.
Yeah.
Like, just, like people picking on.
I mean, it was definitely misunderstood, and like you said, you know, angsty teens or rambunctious and stuff like that.
Especially when I bring up, I'm going to use two areas, the suburbs and the, and we're going to say the inner city. And the inner city, the inner city kids be like, "Oh, you like that? You weird."
And I was gonna say that's a lot of times what I felt like would happen is like anime and manga, like fans would like get really picked on really hardcore. But like for me, because I was more into comic books, it wasn't as bad. But
And I know if you live like in the suburb, you get a little more of like some wiggle room.
People are a little bit more understanding and stuff.
But, you know, and actually we were talking about this, just like, not necessarily hiding your fandom, but just being understanding that your fandom is a niche, like, thing. And so just knowing how to maneuver your way through that. Like, you know, if at night you like going to sleep with a teddy bear, you probably wouldn't tell anybody that. It's like that. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you know you would kind of keep that to yourself. And I felt like, you know, people who either got picked on for the wrong reasons because they like certain things, they were very kind of open about that. And so people were like, yo, that's some weirdo stuff. So that's how we kind of maneuvered. We knew what we were into was a very niche like thing. But at the same time, it had elements that people really liked. So as long as you explained it correctly, and not even correctly, like, I mean, again, either you like it or you don't. But half the time, especially with Toonami, I think Toonami really opened the door for a lot of people to see, like, yo, this is mad cool.
Cause I know, like, I grew up in the born in the 90s, really grew up in the 2000s. We kind of, it was like a little bit open, it's a little bit wiggle room. And I know, like, when my nephew was, he's like, was born like 2008. Oh, it's accepted. It don't even matter no more.
It's definitely now.
Which, and now the one thing that I will say, like, that I focus on is the rarity of anime back in the day. 'Cause, I mean, I was born in the 80s, like the mid 80s. So I kind of grew up, you know, in the, you know, early 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. But the rarity of people not knowing what Dragon Ball Z was something that, you know, like I lived through. You know, it was something that used to come on at 5:30 o'clock in the morning, not 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So, like, you know, the rarity and the excitement of seeing something you've never seen before. So even though people would sometimes make fun of you for it, it was exciting for the people that you had, you know, you developed a camaraderie with. Like, so, I'm sorry, Megan Thee Stallion just threw me off. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
It really looked like she was walking towards
right? I was like, wait, what is that? So even though, like, you know, people had some troubled times with being made fun of things, if you had a group of friends that was into it, it was exciting. When you saw it, you knew what it was. Now you can buy Dragon Ball Z figures. We was actually talking about this the other day. You can buy Dragon Ball Z figures everywhere. Almost to the part where I'm numb to it, where I don't. But back in the day, Oh, it was a thrill to see this thing in a line of American toys, and then it was Goku, and you're like,
Yeah.
snap! Like they got Goku here. So so there was a lot of pros and cons of like the unknowingness of.
Because I know you're in the space of also a fan, but also as an artist. I know when I bring up that question, I never really I only ask now because I'm like, well, I remember in the days
Yeah.
where I'll say this. It was a recent live stream. I'm not gonna bring up what type of live stream. So I guess the main person wasn't there, and they went from it went from talking about finance to talking about anime and cartoons. And I just heard, and they were talking about Pokemon, and all of a sudden I just heard, yo, buddy, you give me Digimon vibes. You didn't watch that growing up.
Now Digimon, I definitely was a Digimon fan. I must admit, actually we watched it.
Yeah.
I want to say quite recent, but definitely.
I would say like we rewatched it like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
It's funny because as a kid, like to me, I was such a big Pokemon fan that I thought Digimon was just like a bootleg of Pokemon. And then when we watched it recently, I was like, actually, Digimon's pretty good. Like
I thought Digimon was more serious than Pokemon.
Yeah,
like,
because it actually had like some stakes.
Yeah.
Like when those kids were trapped.
They
It was
trapped
like
in a digital
like
world.
some like if you really think about it, some like Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Like
And I tell people all the time, they did Endgame before Endgame.
Yeah.
Like when it was
Digimon started
coming to the real
Yeah,
world, and that was a TV watching experience. Like you had to watch that thing live. Like it was really amazing. So yeah.
Now, I got another one. So, being in the space of creators and artists, is there anything you want to give to like newer people who want to actually like jump into it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I would say, well, depending on whether I would say if it's an artist, definitely take your time and maybe start with a small project first, because we all have those like, our version of One Piece. It's like we think it's going to be our life's work, but it's really time-consuming to draw an entire like 200-page volume of manga. So starting with a small story is good. And then I guess if you're just a writer, like you're not an artist at all, really fleshing out your character, having detailed descriptions of everything. That way, when you do actually find an artist to work with, they're not just working from scratch, and they have something to kind of, give them the base of what to work with.
Yeah, and kind of decide whether you want this to be kind of a hobby or a profession. And if it's a profession, we live in a great time where you can reach out to other creators and artists and stuff like that to kind of pick their brains about things. And then just kind of don't feel like you have to go from 0 to 100.
Okay.
Seriously, the reason why we're able to kind of crank out work is because it's fun. Like, it's really fun. But we didn't put that pressure on ourselves. We didn't say like, oh man, we gotta work like 20 hours, no sleep, no food. Like, that's not fun. No one who does that thinks it's fun. So the main thing is what's going to keep you creating is having fun and just excitement about your creation. And that means keeping fun and good people around you, making sure that you obviously don't want yes men, but you definitely don't want people telling you like, nah, that'll never work, or like, no, that story's lame, or my favorite is like, oh, that sounds like this, you need to change it to this.
Oh, you
want to do a pirate thing, do it, because again, you need
now
something.
my final question, based on what you just said right there. Now, coming from
I just came to say hello because Gigi was speaking
and
out
saying,
with you guys.
say like Andrew got moon layers. Now,
And yeah.
I know you got a busy table, and I know it's the final question.
I don't have
What I'm about to ask you can be almost like in depth.
now,
If it don't have to be.
whoever's interested
Now,
in giving out,
Andrew
it's basically
versus Andrew when Moonlayer was of his infancy stage.
Yeah.
And when you said, I wanted to shoot the gun on this,
Yeah.
was there any group of people that probably like, oh, that's not gonna work? Not like saying that's not gonna work, but like almost like
Yeah.
kind of like they don't know what you know.
Absolutely. Oh, definitely. And there's always going to be people like that. And actually, I'm so glad you brought that up. You got to give people the benefit of the doubt that they're not looking inside your head and stuff like that. You got to, and a lot of times, like, either they're coming from, I guess I can say this, coming from a place that they care about you, and so they're like, I don't know how you're going to do it. But one of the key things you want to look for when they are talking, either they're saying it with an absolute, like saying, like, you'll never do this, or they're saying, I don't know how you're gonna do it, but but hey, I hope it works out for you. That's the difference between someone not believing in you and someone who just doesn't know. One person that will say like, listen, this is not gonna work, is talking from an absolute, and if they've never did it, then you can rest assured that they don't know what they're talking about, especially if they've never done it. Like someone was like, oh, you like making this manga will never work. If they do not have a manga, then you can kind of politely say, okay, well, you've never tried, so let me just try it. If they do have a manga and they're saying like, listen, it's hard work, I don't make money, so you won't make money. Again, that's their experience. They don't have it. They don't have the idea in their head, and that's okay. Just make sure that you're doing your thing. But yeah, I definitely had people who did not know kind of what I was thinking. Didn't know what my whole plan was, and that's understandable. If they don't really know what the plan is, then yeah, they don't really know how it's going to get done. But you need people that, when you say, listen, I want to be the next Toonami, that's what I was saying to my team, and they were like, I get it, I get the vibe, I totally get it, let's do it. Those are the people you want to roll with. And then once they start rolling with you, when they start pitching ideas and they start putting together, idea or making your ideas better, you got some good people behind you.
So where can people check y'all out at?
Yeah, so you can check us. We're really, really active on Instagram. It's moonlair_studios on Instagram, or you can check us out on our website, moonlairstudios.com. And then we're building up our YouTube. It's just Moonlair Studios. And then we're gonna be doing some exclusive stuff on our Patreon. So it's just Moonlair Patreon, Moonlair Studios Patreon. And we're actually gonna be doing some very exclusive stuff on there. So definitely check us out.